Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the October Assessment and Accountability webinar. This is Kevin Whitman. I'm the Director for Assessment and Accountability. As always, we have a few housekeeping notes today. Everyone who is joining us is muted, but if you have questions during the presentation, you can send them to us through the questions pane. Simply type in your question and click send. We've also posted the presentation as a document so that you're able to download and follow along. We know we've had some tech issues with that in the past, so if you could please check that out, and if you're having any issues, let us know and we'll address that for you. Our presentation is also being recorded and it's going to be posted on our website along with the transcript. So with that said, let's get started. First, I want to thank everyone who attended our first fall conference on connecting assessment and instruction. It was great to see everyone. If you couldn't attend or you want to participate in a different session, we are holding a virtual conference event tomorrow. You can attend different strands on ELA, math, science, and the English language proficiency assessment and learn about how to connect the data you receive from these assessments with instructional practices and strategies for improvement. Each strand has 3 one-hour presentations. In addition, we're going to have a 1-hour lunch session on mastery and MTSS. We also wanted to mention that we have updated our website. If you go to the URL on the hyperlink on this slide, you will notice that we've revised a few things. We made it easier to find links to connect with us via the newsletter, this incredible webinar you're now attending, and PD requests. Our goal here is to let you know that we're here to help, and we wanted to emphasize that in the new page. We also have a new portals and platforms section. On this page, you can access the data portals for our different assessments in one spot, rather than having to click through different parts of the site. The portals and platforms is under our new highlights section. We analyzed our usage data and tried to make it easier for you to find and access the resources that seem to be most useful for you. So please check out the new site. Looking ahead, I wanted to share some information about the December reporting requirements for the governor's learning loss funds. As background, this was $20 million in funding that was authorized to address learning loss and was separated into K-4 and K-12 buckets. District and charter schools could apply to receive this funding. If your district or charter did apply and receive this funding, there were several reporting requirements associated with it. These requirements are in place because the authorizing legislation requires the department to report to the legislature on the use and effectiveness of these funds. Students who are supported using these funds should take the IRI, and by that I mean participate in progress monitoring using iStation between December 1st and December 10th. Students supported by the K-12 funds also need to take another assessment. So we recommend the SICA or ICA, and that's the shortened interim comprehensive assessment and the interim comprehensive assessment. But I did want to let you know we've received flexibility to allow you to use a locally selected evidence-based assessment if your district is already using something of that type. There's also a separate reporting form that includes metrics like the number of students supported by credit recovery programs. And you can also include information about those locally selected assessments if you're using them. Our curriculum and content team is going to be sending that form out to superintendents and charter administrators in December. I also wanted to add a few clarifications on those requirements. As I said, testing does need to occur between December 1st and December 10th. Earlier or later assessments won't count for this reporting requirement. In addition, not all students need to test. It's only those who are supported by the learning loss funds. For the K-12 funds, the SICAs, ICAs, or locally selected assessments are only required if it's relevant as an outcome metric for the intervention that you supported using the funds. As an example here, if you use the funds for general content remediation in ELA, students who participated in that program should take an ELA assessment. However, if your program was focused on credit recovery in different subjects, those students don't need to test. Since the reports of the legislature is focused on effectiveness, the guiding principle is whether the metric would serve as a reasonable measure of improvement. Finally, I'll note that the SDE will be accessing that IRI and ISAT data directly, so you won't need to send us any data files or information about those assessments. So before I turn it over to our accountability folks, I wanted to pause here for questions. Okay, seeing none, we will move on, and I'm going to turn it over to our accountability coordinators, Ayaka and Valerie.
Hi, everyone. This is Aika. I'm happy to be here. Hope you all are doing well. The public comment period for the latest board proposed rule, including various assessment and accountability items, is now open and closes on October 28th. The proposed rule includes the removal of the college entrance exam high school graduation requirement, the removal of college entrance exam from the comprehensive assessment program, the replacement of ISAT grade level from grade 10 to grade 11, and the replacement of the school quality measure of the state and federal accountability framework from statewide student, teacher, and parent engagement survey to chronic absenteeism. Please send your comments, questions, or concerns to Tracy Bent at the Board of Education. Her contact information is listed on the slide. The next step is graduation rate appeals window. The graduation rate appeals window opens on October 25 through November 5th this year. If you know what this is, it is a period to finalize your school's 2021 graduation rate. If you'd like, please start your prep work now to avoid completely unnecessarily and time-consuming tasks in the future. You can use resources like what I'm supposed to do now. And for that free webinar earlier this year, an appeals webinar, which I'm going to discuss in the next slide. To prepare you for the upcoming appeals window, we are hosting a graduation rate appeals webinar on October 20th, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Please use the link to register in advance for this webinar. I will walk you guys through the preview and appeals applications and offer insight into what we look for as we review your submission. This webinar will be recorded. And also, school year 2020-2021 accountability and reporting business rules have been posted on our website. The business rules are for the 2021 accountability data, which is also posted on the website, and the link is available on the slide. The report card will be updated soon to reflect the latest data. And lastly, appeals review is still on hold due to processing delays in the IDAA participation status file. We'll notify the submitters once the processing resumes. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns.
Hi, this is Valerie, a maiden voyage on the webinar. In support of the recent Fall 21 conference connecting curriculum and assessment, I developed some custom district level reports for all conference participants. Those reports aim to give educators a view of their district's strengths and their opportunities for improvement. Those reports remain available to the participating districts at their SFTP sites established for them. In a moment, I'll detail how others who didn't attend the conference can also obtain a report for their district. The next pages show examples of the report's content. Here, for example, the reports are shown to provide information about overall proficiency and claims level performance on both the ISAT, both for math and ELA. Educators could view comparisons of their district's performance with overall statewide performance on many measures, and could also see grade level performance per claim, upper right graph. In the IRI reporting section, educators found similar data showing overall proficiency, upper left, as well as proficiency per subtest and grade, the other graphs. Each report delivered detailed graphs showing the district's English learners' progress overall and per grade within domain, with several of the measures displayed across 3 years. Finally, educators could compare their district's performance with the state's performance on the SAT across 2 years. They also viewed career and college readiness indices across 3 years and in comparison with the state. You too can review your own district's custom report. If you are a colleague registered for the fall 2021 conference, you can use the log-on credentials sent by Taylor Baggerly, our team member. If you don't have fall 21 log-on credentials, you have other options. You can create an Otis request using the link provided here. In the summary line, write attention V. Stefan, that would be me, district level accountability report. In the description, be sure to provide your district's name and number. If you don't have access to an Otis request, your IT or your superintendent can help you. Alternately, you can email or phone me. I'm Valerie Stefan, and I can arrange to transfer through an SFTP process. In any case, I hope you find these reports useful in helping you understand your district's performance on the various accountability measures, to celebrate the strengths and develop plans to improve on weaknesses. Now for questions.
We have quite a few questions. First, if we use a district chosen assessment, will we upload scores in Otis or just use the JOT form to supply aggregate information?
Thank you for that question. If you do use a locally selected assessment, you would not need to send us anything in Otis. You would just provide that information in the JOT form with aggregate data.
Thank you. Could you clarify the potential of a grade 11 ISAT would be in addition to the current scheduled exams at grade 10?
So the shift from grade 10 to grade 11, were that to be finally approved by the legislature, would shift the test from grade 10 to 11. So you would not have both grade 10 and 11. You would just have grade 11. However, it would mean for students who took the test in grade 10, the year when it shifts over, they would then take the assessment in grade 11, so they would be able to move forward on that new schedule.
Thank you. So just to clarify, if learning loss funds are used for credit recovery, then a student would not need to take the ICA or SICA ISAT between December 1st and 10th?
Yes, that is correct. So the SICA or ICA would only be for something like general content remediation, where that interim assessment would be a relevant metric. If you're doing credit recovery, you're able to report that separately in that JOT form.
Thank you. The language on the proposed board change for ISAT alternate assessment is confusing. Will ISAT alt, ELA, and math change to 11th grade also?
That is an interesting question. I honestly, from my perspective, I have not looked at it closely enough. Now, I anticipate they would keep those grades aligned, but I would have to get back to you on that to be fair there.
Okay, thank you. Somebody has a question about the conference from last week and SFTP folders. If you have any questions about your SFTP folders, please email Valerie or me, Taylor, and we can pass it on to the people who can help you. That's all the questions for now.
Paul Kleinert is my name, and the National Assessment of Educational Progress is my game. I sent out emails on the 21st to schools with registration instructions for my name. This week, I will be sending out a reminder email so that schools can complete the provide school information steps. In order to lighten the load of responsibility, principals should pass the work to a school counselor or another staff member that is comfortable handling student data. This is the most successful NAEP strategy. I understand that many schools are smaller and the principal is sometimes still the best contact. When principals select a NAEP coordinator for their school, also make sure they have a good track record of responding to emails. If you hear about anyone having trouble with the mynape.com website, this seems to be the most common issue. The site is closed for the year, error. Just click the register button to register a new account, even if you already have an account. And then I'm going to send out an email with these steps to schools.
All right, good morning. This is Andrew Bennett, your English Language Proficiency Assessment Coordinator at the State Department. I am here to give you some ELPA updates and reminders as we get into this ghoulish month of October. So a new historical report listing individual proficiency levels and scale scores for access is now available in the English Learner Management System, or ELMS. This is an excellent resource that allows LEAs the opportunity to easily monitor, plan, and define individual goals to move English language learning forward. The report includes individual language domains and composite scores. And in addition, the new report provides information on whether a child met the English learner growth towards English language proficiency metric. All right, the WIDA pre-ID file will be uploaded by Idaho State Department of Education on November 25th, 2021. The pre-ID file information is pulled directly from ELMS. Districts are encouraged to review and verify the information in ELMS prior to November 25th. And it is recommended that districts review student demographic information, the predefined access for ELS mode of administration, and assign accommodations that are documented in the student's IEP or 504 plan, or ELP. Districts can find detailed information on how to perform these actions by reviewing the Access Pre-ID file and Material Ordering How-To Guide. The guide is found under the Files tab on the ELPA webpage. Furthermore, a webinar reviewing this process will be given on November 3rd, so we hope to see you there. Okay, all test administrators are required to annually certify to give the WIDA screeners and access for ELS. Recently deployed WIDA Secure Portal makes verifying staff certifications a breeze. A certification report in the form of a CSV file can easily be downloaded by selecting the blue Manage button in the right-hand corner of the portal's landing page. Select Certification Report from the dropdown, then select the main category under the Package Assessments header to download the report. It is the responsibility of the LEA to ensure that all staff administering an English language proficiency assessment has completed all trainings and quizzes prior to their administration. And there are many opportunities to learn how to best serve our multilingual learners via the WIDA Secure Portal. All Idaho educators are invited to join a number of the professional development e-learning workshops available within the WIDA Secure Portal, and this is for free. Here is a list of the e-workshops available for the 2021-2022 school year. And remember, the e-workshops are for everybody. I wanted to highlight the WIDA ELD Standards Framework, a collaborative approach professional development offering, because it does a nice job of outlining the enhanced instructional resources that are now available within the WIDA ELD Standards Framework 2020 edition. As a plug, the new edition explicitly connects content to language and gives users useful tools to enhance content-driven language instruction in all classrooms. So check it out. This slide outlines the important 2021-2022 Access for ELS dates LEAs should be aware of for the 2021-2022 school year. If you have any questions about these dates, please do not hesitate to reach out. The next action item is to verify and or modify a student's Access for ELS mode of administration. And again, the Idaho SDE will upload the file to the DOC on November 25th. ELPA training webinars have been posted on the ELPA webpage and can be found under the Trainings tab. This year, the SDE will be hosting monthly webinars focused on providing timely assessment information updates, and resources that will help administrators successfully navigate the implementation of the various English language proficiency assessments. Each SDE webinar allocates a dedicated period of time for participants to ask and clarify policy. And the next opportunity is today. We will be covering EL supports on Access and the supports available on other state assessments. So please join us.
While we're waiting for ELPA questions, we do have a NAEP question. What are chances additional schools will be selected across the state for NAEP this year? It was stated as a possibility in your emails.
So that statement is in our email just as a precaution. Good eye catching it though. But for example, if South Middle School, which has a lot of eighth graders, closed or didn't have any eighth graders for some reason one year, that's a situation where we might have to resample new schools. But until that happens, we are not looking for new sampling at this point.
Thank you. ELPA question, Andrew. Will the special populations webinar for today be recorded if we are unable to attend?
Great question. The slide deck for that presentation will be posted to the ELPA webpage for your review. And if you have any questions after you view that slide deck, you can always reach out and give me a call.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Kevin Chandler and Marie Freiburn here at the department with a few updates for ISAT. One last reminder that student performance data from the Spring 21 ELA and Math Summative ISATs are in reporting. Remember to change reporting time period in order to rewind the clocks and see the Spring 21 Summative data. Also remember that since the Spring 21 Science ISAT was an independent field test, no student performance data will be in reporting. A few resources on the Idaho portal to help interpret the data presented in reporting. The reporting claim target symbols for the Spring 21 Summative Tests Quick Guide. This excellent resource models the meaning of the proficient and weak or strong symbols that gives a potential interpretation of what each combination of those symbols can mean. There is also the reporting and scoring FAQ. In addition to answering frequently asked questions about reporting and scoring, it also graphically illustrates the ELA and math scale score ranges and achievement level cut scores, which you can see here. A lot of helpful information in these resources, so be sure to check them out. Speaking of resources, for school year 21-22, the Idaho Usability, Accessibility, and Accommodations Guidelines has been created to include information on the universal tools, designated supports, and accommodations available for the ELA, math, and science ISATs. The Idaho UAAG is posted on the Idaho portal. With those updates, let's transition to testing that is available right now. First is the practice and training tests. That testing window is currently open now until July 29, 2022. Anyone can use a conventional browser to log in as a guest user using a guest session. Additionally, TAs can start a practice test session using the Sample Test Administration app. Students can then log in using their first name, their EDU ID, and the practice test session to take a practice test. This allows students to practice using their designated supports and accommodations. The ELA, math, and science interim testing window is open now until February 25, 2022. For school year 21-22, the interim test window will be closing approximately 2 weeks prior to the opening of the summative test window. This will be done so as to avoid accidental administration of a summative test, thinking it was an interim test. Access a plethora of resources to support interim assessment administration, including the interim planning and implementation checklist, the ELA and math interim summaries, the science interim blueprints, and the TA quick guide. And just like last school year, the interims can be administered in either a standardized or non-standardized administration. With a standardized administration, a TA creates a test session and students take the interim via the test delivery system. With a non-standardized administration, educators can use the Assessment Viewing Application, or AVA, to administer an interim using formative assessment techniques. Students can log in and take an interim using the secure browser installed on their workstation or access the remote interim testing site available on the Idaho portal. Students can use a conventional browser to access the remote interim testing site in order to take an interim. In addition to practice and training tests and interims, the authoring platform is available for educators to create items and build and share tests. An authoring user guide and PowerPoint training module is available on the Idaho portal. Additionally, we have confirmed with Cambium Assessment, our ISAT testing vendor, that field author tests will be available between the interim and summative testing windows, and then during the summative testing window as well. Looking forward to summative testing, the Idaho SDE has elected to go with the adjusted blueprints for Spring 22 summative testing in ELA and mathematics. Spring 22 summative adjusted blueprints for ELA and math are available on the Idaho portal. Speaking of blueprints, the science operational field test blueprints for elementary, middle school, and high school are also available on the Idaho portal. They show the number of clusters and standalones that will be administered per content area, as well as the potential number of field test clusters and standalones that will be administered. Just a few more updates. As we mentioned before, the interims can be taken remotely via the remote interim testing site. Additionally, the Idaho SDE has decided to allow remote administration of the summatives in Spring 22. With that said, let me reiterate, there will be no changes implemented in TIDE or to the TA app for administration of the interims. Students will still be able to take an interim with a conventional browser via the remote interim testing site currently on the Idaho portal. Now, let's discuss a few preliminary details for remote summative administration in Spring 22. As we stated last school year, the Idaho SDE's expectation is that all summative testing will occur in person. Let me repeat that. The Idaho SDE's expectation is that all summative testing will occur in person. However, if remote administration is right for certain students, here are a few specifics to keep in mind when you're planning for summative testing. First, there will be no application process for remote summative testing this school year. However, be aware that the Idaho SDE will be monitoring testing settings in TIDE and reaching out if necessary. Then, just like last year, the remote TA certification course is required for all TAs that will be administering a summative test to remote students. Additionally, the parent consent for AV monitoring consent form and TIDE attribute will both be required for students that will take a summative test remotely. To wrap up, just a few more details. In order to take a summative test remotely, the student will have to use the secure browser in order to access the ELA, math, or science summative tests. The reason for this change is that there is no separate fixed form in Spring 22. Then, for our summative testing window, we are expecting that the in-person and the remote summative testing windows will be the same, March 14 to May 13, 2022. More details, clarifications, and resources will be made available in the coming weeks, so be sure to subscribe to our newsletter if you have not already. And with those updates, are there any questions for ISAT?
We have a few. Because we will be giving the adjusted form, will claim scores still not be available for students like last year?
That is correct. Yep, claim level scores will only be available for groups of students or rosters of students.
Thank you. So we will be administering the adjusted form ISAT in the spring of 22?
Correct. For math and ELA, the Idaho SDE has elected to go with a adjusted blueprint for those summative ISATs.
Thank you. Are modified blueprints the same as last year?
For ELA and math, yes. The adjusted blueprint that was used last year is the same adjusted blueprint that's going to be used for Spring 22.
Thank you. And where can the blueprints be found?
The ELA and math adjusted blueprints are currently on the Idaho portal, and the science Operational field test blueprints are also on the Idaho portal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maureen Frybren, and I'm here with some IRI updates. In an effort to increase the accessibility of their products, iStation has recently added a keyboard navigation accessibility feature to the ISAT, which allows students to navigate through the assessment using only the keyboard. This provides access for students who are not able to or do not have access to a mouse, trackpad, or touch device. This will be a universal tool and updated in our test administration manual. The keyboard accessibility feature is only accessible through the web-based administration. It is already a part of the web-based administration, so you do not need to change any settings to enable the keyboard accessibility feature. In order to use the keyboard to choose responses, students can use the Tab and Shift key to go through answer choices, and then use the space bar to choose a response. This is still a new feature for iStation, and they're working to make it more user-friendly. We'll share updates with you about this new accessibility feature as iStation shares them with us. We have just scheduled our next professional development opportunity for the IRI with iStation. It will be on Tuesday, November 16th at 3:30. The training will be virtual. Please still register even if you're not able to attend because a link with the recording will be sent to your email. During this professional development, educators will learn to use growth reports to track growth towards student goals and determine how to best adjust instruction or intervention to help students achieve success. Participants will look at the following growth reports: rate of improvement, skill growth by level, and skill growth details. We will send out the registration link by the end of the week. And now I will pause for any IRI questions.
While we wait for those IRI questions, we did have a science ISAT question, Chandler. Will the science test be a field test again, or will scores be recorded?
Excellent question, and thank you for asking. So the science ISAT for spring 22 is going to be an operational field test. So what that means is we will be able to provide individual student reports that include proficiency scales and an overall scale score. All of that will be available after we have our standard setting meeting. That standard setting meeting will occur in summer 22. And after the school board signs off on the proficiency levels, we will be able to provide those scores. So we're thinking like fall 22 when those will be available.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm back again. Sorry that you couldn't hear me earlier really well. My computer fan is super loud. I'm super close to the computer now. I hope you can hear me better for the CEE presentation. As I discussed in the accountability section, the public comment period for the latest board proposed rule is now open and it closes on October 28th. The proposed rule includes the removal of the college entrance exam high school graduation requirement, as well as the removal of the college entrance exam from the comprehensive assessment program. Please send your comments, questions, or concerns to Tracy Bent at the State Board of Education, and then her contact info listed on the slide. I know some districts and schools use college entrance exam at the local level and were concerned about the funding. Idaho Code 3346 was modified this year to allow the Advanced Opportunities Program to reimburse the college entrance exams as long as they meet the AO program requirements. You may want to tap into that in the future if the state contract goes away. That may or may not help your situation. So please submit your comments to Tracy so that the board members can make decisions for you guys and your students. October CEE newsletter has been posted on our website. If you did not receive it, have misplaced it, or deleted it accidentally, the CEE newsletter is not subscription-based. If you are identified as DTC, District Test Coordinator, or CEEC, College Entrance Exam Coordinator in the IC program contact file, or if you are one of the coordinators identified in the College Board intake form, you received the newsletter. If you do not know why you didn't get it, please follow up with your IC person or update your contact info with the College Board. October college entrance exam newsletter was released on the 4th, and it is waiting in line to be posted on our website. Here are some of the key points that were included in this month's edition. Provide notification to the families. I recently received an email concerning students' data and privacy. Please make sure your schools are distributing the family notification letters prior to the test day. And it's actually today. So if your schools didn't do it, it may be too late. But so that parents and students can discuss optional fields that College Board is collecting as part of pre-administration. Unlike SAT, for which proctors can choose to, and the state is requiring them to read a script without parent consent, for PSAT and MSQT, proctors read a script that basically instructs the students not to fill out any optional fields in absence of parent permission. And PSAT and MSQT test day is today. Hope everything is going well for your schools. And lastly, fee waiver eligibility, the state will cover the 10th grade PSAT and MSQT. However, 11th graders are not covered under the state contract. Please have your schools review the PSAT and MSQT fee waiver policy, as the fee is waived for students' need. Schools must follow the alternative eligibility requirements when a universal free lunch policy is in effect. And more information will be provided to your schools in the next newsletter. Do you have any questions?
Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward to let you know that our next webinar is scheduled for 10 a.m. November 10th. You can find links to register and review past webinars at our Assessment and Accountability Resource Center. And we have a link on this slide where you can register for that upcoming webinar. Now, do you have any final questions before we wrap up? We'll stay on a bit longer in case you do. And as always, we'll include the questions and answers with the video that we post. And watch for that video, a PDF of the PowerPoint, and those questions and answers a little later this week. We do need a little time to make those documents accessible.
We did have a follow-up ISAT question. If a 10th grade student did not ISAT test because they were not living in the state or were homeschooled, do they have to take it as an 11th grade student?
If the assessment is changed so that 11th graders have to take it in that school year, if that student is an 11th grader, they would have to participate in the assessment.
Thank you. And then another one, when was the proposed move to 11th grade ISATs?
We can provide that in the questions and answers. I will need to get you the exact date that it was provided to the board for their review. There are several stages in that where they would have received a recommendation and then had a proposed rule that they approved, and then a comment period that Ayaka mentioned is happening right now. So I don't have those exact dates on me, but in the questions and answers that we provide afterwards, we'll make sure you have links to all of the board meetings when this discussion occurred.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful day, and please reach out to us at any time if you have any questions that you weren't able to submit right now. And look forward to this presentation being posted soon. Thank you.